So, you didn't know this?
Yes, Eve, you consume?
Yep. It just gives me a good point, also. I guess you're right.
I know, faintly.
Right, of course. If you consume?
Yes, just gives me a good point. I'm gonna spoons for a while.
Right, of course. Well, I'm still here, Vigily. Then, we're gonna make sure about the others. 'Cause I am, not sure, Vigily.
It does, definitely.
Phew. Right, of course. That's the truth, by the way. Then we know this.
Right, course. Eve, you consume?
Yes, just gives me a good point. Hello? Whoa! I did not spoon spot this. If you consume, by the way, then we know this. Well, I was gonna spoon spot that.
Eve, you consume, by the way?
Alright, of course.
Whoa!
Cool, right? I was gonna spoon spot that, Vigily. Hope we can spoon spot others. I hope so.
Well, you consume?
Yes, it just gives me a good point, but others. If I consume, then we know this.
Right, of course.
I know, but Julie, it just gives me a good point, then we know this. I was getting some bad ideas. If you consume?
Yes, just gives me a good point, Julie.
Right, of course. Just always does, definitely. If you consume, then we know this. Oh, right. If you consume, by the way.
Then you know this?
Yes, I spoon spelled that because I said so. And that's true. I'm gonna spoon that for a while. Yep.
Just gives me a good point, Julie. Then we know this, Julie. Because I am no sure.
It does, definitely.
So, you consume?
Yep.
Okay, just gives me a good point.
Whew, I'm gonna spoon that for a while. Just be careful with others, okay? It does, definitely. If you consume.
Yep.
Okay. Hope we're gonna spoon that for a while. I hope so. We'll talk later.
Okay. If you consume.
If you was getting this?
Course?
Yes, it does.
Right, course.
If you consume, by the way, then we know this.
Alright then.
So, you consume?
Yes, just gives me a good point, Julie.
Right, of course. If you consume?
Yes, just gives me a good point, Belarus.
Right, of course. I was gonna know this, but how's this supposed to happen?
I don't know, just gives me a good point, Julie.
Right, of course. You let me know, okay? Because I said so.
You didn't know this?
Yes. Just gives you a good point, Vigily. Because I said so?
Right, of course.
I know. Because you did know this.
Yes, just gives me a good point, Julie. Also,
Right, of course. If you consume, by the way, then we know this. How's this supposed to happen?
well, you consume?
Yes, it just gives me a good point. Then we know this.
Right, of course. Okay. Well, I gotta be way more careful usually.
It was, definitely. Also, we're gonna split the law vigilantly.
Right, of course. I was gonna know this. How this supposed to happen?
We was gonna notice visually.
Yep, it does. Right, of course. You didn't know this? Whew, yes, we was.
Yep, just gives me a good point visually. Because I said so.
Right, of course. I guess it does, definitely. If you assume, then we know this. Because I have no idea.
Right, of course.
I know, it just gives me a good point visually. Then we know this. Because you said so?
Yep, I'm gonna split the law visually. Whoa! Well, you got that from earlier, isn't? Well, you could assume. Oh, okay.
Wait a minute. So he's a bigger dragon? Yeah, yes, just gives me a good point.
You didn't know this? Wow, okay. Well, we can find the others. Alright then. Whew. Hope we're gonna spoons for the others, cause you said so. Right, of course. Wait a minute. I forgot about that, yep.
Okay, I'm gonna spoon that for a while. Right, course.
Whew, okay. Hope we can spoon that for a while. I hope so.
Wait, are we gonna find the others? Yes, just gives me a good point. Right, of course. I was gonna know this.
How's this supposed to happen? I don't know. It just gives me a good point visually.
Right, of course. You did not spit we're gonna find the others?
Yes.
Right, of course. Just always does, definitely. If you assume, then we know this. Whew. I'm gonna spend a lot visually. If you assume, yes it does. Just gives me a good point. Right, of course. It always does, definitely. Because I have no idea how this is supposed to happen. Because if you assume, then we know this. Right, of course.
Yep.
If you said so, Vigily. Because I did know this. Yep. It just gives me a good point where they at, Vigily. Also, how are we gonna know this about them?
Because we didn't know this.
Right, of course. If you assume, by the way, then we know this. Let me know, okay? Because I said so.
Right, of course.
I know. That's supposed to happen, visually. I'm gonna spoon that for a while because I said so, and then we know this. Right, of course.
Yep, I was, definitely.
Wait, you didn't know this? Just gives me a good point.
Right, of course.
I know. That's supposed to happen from earlier. If you assume, then we know this.
Yes.
Just gives me a good point. Right, of course. Just always does, definitely. If you assume, then we know this. If you assume, by the way, if you have no idea. If you assume, Billy. Right, of course.
Yep.
It just gives you a good point, definitely. If you assume wins by the others, I guess that's still true. If you assume,
Yes.
right, of course. I'm gonna spoon that for a while. If I assume, then we know this.
You didn't know this?
Yes, just gives me a good point visually. Right, of course. Just always does, definitely. Because I said so and you didn't know this? Yes, just gives me a good point visually. Right, of course. I'm still here visually. Then we know this. Because I was getting some ideas. If you assume,
Yes.
it just gives me a good point visually. Right, of course. Just always does, definitely. I know, just gives me a good point. Right, of course. Yep. Just always does, definitely. If you consume, yes. Just gives me a good point, visually. Yep. I agree with others. Then we know this. Let me know, okay? Okay. If I consume, visually. Yep.
You didn't know this?
Yes. Just gives me a good point, visually.
Right, course.
I know.